It was a quiet Tuesday morning in New York City. People were rushing to work, sipping their coffees and scrolling through their phones as they waited for the subway. In Tokyo, students were heading to school under the bright spring sun. Farmers in rural India were tending to their fields, while families in London sat down for breakfast. Life on Earth carried on, as it always did, ordinary, predictable, and peaceful. But that peace wouldn't last long. At exactly 9:47 a.m. Eastern Time, something strange began happening across the globe. The sky, which had been clear and blue just moments ago, started shimmering like water rippling in a breeze. It wasn't clouds moving or light reflecting off glass buildings. This was different. This was unnatural. A low hum filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. Birds stopped chirping, dogs began barking nervously, and even the wind seemed to die down. Everyone looked up, confused and uneasy. Then, without warning, cracks appeared in the heavens. They weren't like cracks you'd see in dry earth or broken glass. They glowed bright blue, almost electric, and spread rapidly across the sky. Within seconds, the entire atmosphere above Earth resembled a shattered mirror, pulsating with energy. People stared in awe, unsure whether to run or stay still. Some dropped to their knees, praying. Others grabbed their phones, trying to capture what they thought might be the end of the world. And then it happened. From the glowing fissures emerged massive ships, so large they blocked out the sun. These weren't planes or satellites. They were alien vessels, sleek and metallic, bristling with weapons that looked capable of destroying entire cities in seconds. The ships hovered ominously above major cities worldwide: New York, Tokyo, London, Mumbai, Sydney. Panic erupted instantly, streets filled with screaming people as everyone tried to flee, but there was nowhere safe to go. The aliens had come, and no one knew why, or what they wanted. Social media exploded with videos and photos of the ships. News outlets scrambled to report live updates, but no one had answers. Governments issued emergency alerts, urging citizens to remain calm, but how could anyone stay calm when the sky itself had split open? Scientists speculated about first contact scenarios. Conspiracy theorists claimed it was all part of some secret government experiment, and religious leaders declared it was the apocalypse. Meanwhile, the aliens said nothing. Their ships simply floated there, silent and menacing. Just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, another event shook humanity to its core. From behind Earth's moon, a fleet of even larger ships appeared. These vessels dwarfed the alien ships hovering above Earth's cities. They were colossal, shaped like pointed arrows designed to cut through space itself. Their surfaces gleamed, silver, reflecting sunlight in dazzling bursts. Unlike the ominous presence of the alien ships, these new arrivals radiated power and authority. The reaction on Earth was immediate and chaotic. Was this another invasion? Were these new ships here to finish what the first ones started? No one knew, and fear gripped the planet tighter than ever. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the massive ships broadcasted a message, not in English or any human language, but directly into people's minds. Everyone heard it, regardless of where they were or what language they spoke. "We are the Celestials," the voice said, deep and commanding, yet strangely comforting. "We have watched over your species since its earliest days. You are not alone in this universe, nor are you defenseless. Today, we stand with you." The announcement stunned the world. Humanity had believed itself vulnerable, weak and insignificant compared to whatever advanced civilizations might exist beyond Earth. But now, these so-called Celestials claimed they had been protecting humans all along. Questions flooded every mind. Why hadn't they revealed themselves sooner? What did they mean by watching over humanity? And most importantly, would they really help fight off the invaders? As if answering those unspoken doubts, the celestial ships moved swiftly, positioning themselves between Earth and the alien vessels. Beams of light shot out from their hulls, creating protective barriers around cities below. The alien ships responded immediately, firing powerful energy blasts at the Celestials. Explosions lit up the sky as the two forces clashed. Despite their size and apparent strength, the Celestials didn't attack back right away. Instead, they focused on shielding Earth, ensuring civilians remained safe. On the ground, people watched the battle unfold with a mix of terror and wonder. In New York, a young boy named Ethan clutched his mother's hand as he gazed up at the fiery spectacle above them. "Are we going to die?" he whispered. His mother didn't answer. She didn't know. Across the Atlantic, an elderly man in Paris stood on his balcony, tears streaming down his face. He had lived through wars, economic collapses and pandemics, but nothing compared to this. Meanwhile, governments attempted to respond. Military jets took to the skies, though they quickly realized their weapons were useless against such advanced technology. Emergency meetings were held in secret bunkers, but decisions were hard to make when no one understood what was truly happening. All anyone could do was wait and hope that the Celestials would prevail. Back in space, the alien ships finally identified themselves. Through a similar mental broadcast, they introduced themselves as the Zorathians, a race known for conquering planets across galaxies. "Your planet is rich in resources we require," their leader stated coldly. "Surrender now, or face destruction." The Celestials' response was swift and firm. Admiral Kalian, the commander of the Celestial Fleet, addressed both the Zorathians and humanity. "Earth belongs to its people," he declared. "You will not take it. Leave now, or suffer the consequences." For the first time, the Zorathians hesitated. They had expected little resistance from primitive Earthlings, and certainly hadn't anticipated encountering a rival force as powerful as themselves. Yet here they were, facing an opponent far superior to anything they'd encountered before. As the battle intensified, humanity held its breath. The fate of the planet hung in the balance, and no one knew what the outcome would be. But one thing was certain: life on Earth would never be the same again. The revelation that humanity had protectors lurking in the shadows of space sent shockwaves through every corner of the globe. For centuries, people had looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Philosophers debated the existence of extraterrestrial life, scientists searched for signs of intelligent civilizations, and storytellers crafted tales of alien encounters. Yet no one, not even the brightest minds, had imagined that Earth was being watched over by a powerful race known as the Celestials. Their sudden appearance felt like something out of science fiction, but there was no denying the reality unfolding before everyone's eyes. Admiral Kalian, the leader of the Celestial Fleet, continued to address humanity through mental broadcasts. His deep, resonant voice carried both authority and reassurance. "We are not here to conquer or control," he explained. "Our mission has always been to safeguard your species, ensuring you reach your full potential. Now, with the Zorathians threatening your existence, we have chosen to step forward openly." Despite his calming words, skepticism lingered among humans. Some questioned why the Celestials hadn't intervened earlier during times of crisis: wars, famines, pandemics. Others worried that this newfound alliance might come at a cost. Would the Celestials demand loyalty, resources, or even dominion over Earth? Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire on social media. People whispered about hidden agendas, secret experiments, and possible enslavement under the guise of protection. In response to these doubts, Admiral Kalian offered glimpses into humanity's past. Through holographic projections broadcasted globally, he revealed moments when the Celestials had subtly influenced history. They had nudged ancient civilizations toward discoveries that would shape the future, like teaching early humans how to harness fire, guiding astronomers to map the stars, and inspiring inventors to create technologies that advanced society. These interventions had been small but significant, designed to help humanity grow without revealing their presence too soon. "These actions were meant to prepare you," Kalian said solemnly. "You are stronger than you realize, more resilient than any other species we've encountered, but today the threat is beyond what you can face alone. That is why we are here, to fight alongside you." While humanity grappled with this knowledge, the Zorathians grew increasingly frustrated. The invaders had expected little resistance from Earthlings, whose technology paled in comparison to their own. They had planned to seize the planet swiftly, extract its valuable resources, and leave behind a barren wasteland. But now, confronted by the Celestials' superior firepower and strategic brilliance, their plans unraveled. The Zorathian commander, a ruthless warrior named Xyloth, addressed his crew aboard their flagship. "These guardians," he spat, the word with disdain, "are unlike anything we've faced. Their ships are faster, their weapons deadlier, and their tactics unpredictable. We must adapt, or perish." Xyloth ordered his fleet to launch a coordinated assault, targeting key cities across Earth. Massive energy beams rained down from the sky, striking landmarks and infrastructure. In New York, the Statue of Liberty crumbled under the force of a direct hit. Tokyo's bustling Shibuya district was reduced to rubble. London's historic Big Ben collapsed in a cloud of dust. Each attack struck fear into the hearts of millions, but the Celestials responded swiftly, using their advanced shields to deflect most of the blasts and minimize casualties. On the ground, ordinary people struggled to cope with the devastation. Refugees fled bombed-out neighborhoods, carrying whatever belongings they could salvage. Emergency shelters overflowed with frightened families, while hospitals worked tirelessly to treat the injured. Despite the chaos, acts of courage and compassion emerged. In Mumbai, volunteers formed human chains to rescue trapped survivors from collapsed buildings. In Sydney, local fishermen used their boats to ferry stranded residents to safety. Even children played a role, organizing food drives and comforting younger siblings who couldn't understand why the world was falling apart. But it wasn't just civilians stepping up. Scientists, engineers, and innovators around the globe pooled their expertise to assist the Celestials. In Silicon Valley, a team of tech entrepreneurs developed algorithms to analyze Zorathian attack patterns, allowing the Celestials to anticipate strikes and reinforce defenses accordingly. In South Korea, a robotics company repurposed industrial machines to clear debris and repair damaged roads. And in Kenya, a young astrophysicist named Amina Kamau devised a way to amplify Earth's magnetic field temporarily, creating interference that disrupted the Zorathians' targeting systems. Amina's breakthrough proved pivotal. When the amplified magnetic field went online, the Zorathians' precision weapons faltered, missing their marks and causing less destruction. This gave the Celestials a critical advantage, allowing them to counterattack effectively. Beams of plasma erupted from their star destroyers, slicing through Zorathian vessels with devastating accuracy. Explosions lit up the sky as enemy ships disintegrated into fiery fragments. Cheers erupted in cities below as people witnessed the tide turning in favor of the defenders. Yet, amidst the hope sparked by Amina's innovation, tensions simmered within the Celestial ranks. Not all members of the fleet agreed with Admiral Kalian's decision to reveal themselves to humanity. One high-ranking officer, General Vera, voiced her dissent openly during a private meeting aboard the flagship. "Why do we waste our resources protecting these primitives?" she demanded, her tone sharp and unforgiving. "They squabble over borders, pollute their planet, and wage endless wars. What makes them worthy of salvation?" Kalian listened patiently, his expression unreadable. "Humanity is flawed, yes?" he admitted. "But perfection is not required for greatness. Look at what they've accomplished despite their shortcomings. Art, music, science. They create beauty and push boundaries. More importantly, they possess an unparalleled capacity for empathy and cooperation. Those qualities make them special." Vera scoffed, unconvinced. "Empathy won't save them from extinction. If anything, it makes them weaker. Perhaps it's time we reconsider our priorities." Her words hung heavy in the air, hinting at deeper motives beneath her criticism. Though Kalian dismissed her concerns, ordering her to focus on the battle at hand, Vera's resentment festered. She began secretly communicating with rogue elements within the fleet, sowing seeds of doubt about Kalian's leadership. Meanwhile, she kept a close eye on humanity's efforts, searching for evidence to justify abandoning the mission entirely. Back on Earth, the situation remained dire. While the Celestials had gained the upper hand, the Zorathians refused to retreat. Instead, they adapted, deploying swarms of smaller drones to harass the defenders. These nimble craft darted between larger, ships evading fire and launching surprise attacks. Though individually weak, their sheer numbers overwhelmed even the Celestials' advanced systems. In response, Admiral Kalian called upon humanity for assistance once again. Using encrypted channels, he reached out to military leaders and civilian experts, asking for volunteers willing to board damaged celestial ships and sabotage the drone networks from within. Thousands answered the call, eager to contribute however they could. Among them was Maya Tanaka, the young scientist from Tokyo who had previously helped disrupt the Zarathians' targeting systems. Maya joined a multinational team tasked with infiltrating a heavily damaged celestial cruiser drifting near Earth's orbit. Equipped with rudimentary tools and guided by detailed schematics provided by the Celestials, the team worked tirelessly to disable the drone's command hubs. It was dangerous work. Exposed wires sparked dangerously, and sections of the ship threatened to collapse under the strain of constant enemy fire. But Maya refused to give up. "We can do this," she told her teammates, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "If we succeed, we'll turn the tide of this war for good." Hours later, after narrowly avoiding several close calls, the team managed to sever the connection between the drones and their controllers. One by one, the tiny crafts fell silent, leaving the Zarathians vulnerable once again. News of the victory spread quickly, boosting morale among both humans and Celestials alike. As the battle raged on, humanity found itself united in ways never seen before. Nations set aside old rivalries to share resources and intelligence. Communities banded together to support one another, proving that compassion and resilience could overcome even the darkest challenges. And though the outcome of the war remained uncertain, one truth became undeniable. Earth was no longer alone, and neither were its people. Through alliances forged in the heat of conflict, humanity took its first steps toward claiming its place among the stars. But unbeknownst to most, the greatest test was yet to come. Betrayal loomed on the horizon, threatening to shatter the fragile bond between humans and their celestial protectors. This extended part delves deeper into the relationship between humans and the Celestials, explores doubts and fears, showcases acts of bravery, and sets the stage for future twists, all while maintaining suspense and engagement. The battle between the Celestials and the Zarathians escalated into a full-scale war that spanned not just Earth's atmosphere, but deep into space. The skies above cities glowed with streaks of plasma fire, explosions illuminating the night, like an endless fireworks display. Yet behind the dazzling spectacle lay devastation, entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble, forests scorched to ash, and oceans boiling where stray energy beams struck. Despite their advanced technology, the Celestials struggled to keep up with the relentless assaults from the Zarathians. Every victory came at a cost, and every loss weighed heavily on both humanity and its newfound protectors. On the ground, ordinary people faced unimaginable hardships. Refugees poured out of major cities, seeking shelter in rural areas or makeshift camps hastily erected by governments and aid organizations. Food and water supplies dwindled as supply chains collapsed under the chaos. Hospitals overflowed with the injured, many suffering from burns caused by falling debris or radiation exposure from the alien weapons. Yet, even amidst such despair, stories of heroism emerged daily. Neighbors helped neighbors. Strangers banded together to share what little they had. Humanity refused to crumble entirely. In New York City, Ethan, the young boy who had clutched his mother's hand during the initial invasion, found himself separated from her when a Zarathian blast destroyed their apartment building. Alone and frightened, he wandered through the ruins until a group of volunteers took him in. They were part of a community effort to care for displaced children, offering them food, blankets, and a sense of safety, even if it was fleeting. For Ethan, these strangers became his new family, teaching him resilience and hope in the darkest moments. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Maya Tanaka continued working tirelessly alongside the Celestials. After successfully disabling the Zarathian drone network aboard the damaged cruiser, she returned to Earth to lead a team of engineers tasked with upgrading human satellites. These satellites were being repurposed into early warning systems capable of detecting incoming attacks before they hit. Maya's work required long hours hunched over blueprints and computer screens, often running on little sleep and caffeine-fueled determination. But whenever doubt crept in, she reminded herself why she kept going. If we can save even one life, it's worth it. Her efforts paid off when one of the upgraded satellites intercepted a massive energy surge heading toward Sydney. The warning gave emergency responders enough time to evacuate thousands of residents before the beam struck, sparing countless lives. News of the successful evacuation spread globally, boosting morale and proving that collaboration between humans and Celestials could achieve remarkable results. But not everyone shared this optimism. General Vera, the dissenting Celestial officer, grew increasingly disillusioned with Admiral Kalian's leadership. She believed humanity's flaws outweighed its potential, and argued that protecting Earth was a waste of resources. These primitives squabble over power and greed, she told her closest allies during a private meeting aboard her command ship. They destroy their own planet without hesitation. Why should we risk everything to save them? Vera's frustration reached a boiling point when reports surfaced of rogue human factions attempting to negotiate with the Zorathians. In exchange for sparing certain regions, these groups offered access to Earth's remaining natural resources: fresh water, reserves, rare minerals, and fertile land. Though most humans condemned such acts of betrayal, Vera saw them as proof of humanity's selfishness. "See how quickly they turn on each other," she sneered. "This is why we cannot trust them." Determined to act on her beliefs, Vera began secretly assembling a faction within the Celestial fleet loyal to her cause. Together they plotted to seize control of key ships and force Admiral Kalian to abandon Earth. Their plan involved launching simultaneous attacks on both the Zorathians and their own forces, creating confusion and chaos that would allow Vera to take command. Once in charge, she intended to broker a deal with the Zorathians, handing over Earth in exchange for securing the Celestials' dominance elsewhere in the galaxy. Unaware of Vera's treachery, Admiral Kalian remained focused on defeating the Zorathians. He knew the enemy wouldn't retreat easily. They had too much invested in conquering Earth. Xyloth, the Zorathian commander, doubled down on his strategy, ordering waves of kamikaze drones to crash into Celestial ships. The tactic proved devastating, causing several vessels to explode in fiery bursts. Casualties mounted among the Celestial crew, further straining their ability to maintain their defensive perimeter around Earth. Desperate to turn the tide, Kalian devised a daring plan. Using intelligence gathered by human scientists like Maya, he identified a critical weakness in the Zorathian flagship: its core reactor. If targeted correctly, a concentrated attack could destabilize the reactor, triggering a chain reaction that would destroy the entire vessel. However, reaching the reactor required navigating through dense clusters of enemy ships, a suicide mission for any pilot brave enough to attempt it. Kalian called for volunteers, expecting only a handful of his most trusted officers to step forward. To his surprise, dozens volunteered, including members of the human teams embedded within the Celestial fleet. Among them was a former fighter pilot named Marcus Reed, whose home city of Chicago had been obliterated early in the conflict. Marcus had joined the Celestials after losing everything, driven by a desire for vengeance against the invaders. Now he saw an opportunity to strike back, not just for himself, but for all those who had suffered. "I've got nothing left to lose," Marcus said firmly when questioned about his decision. "Let me do this. Let me make them pay." With no time to waste, Kalian assembled the strike team and briefed them on the mission. Each member understood the risks, yet none hesitated. As they boarded sleek, single-pilot fighters equipped with experimental weaponry, Kalian delivered a final message: "You are not just pilots, you are symbols of hope. Whether you succeed or fail, know that your sacrifice will inspire others to keep fighting." The operation launched under cover of darkness, cloaked by advanced stealth technology provided by the Celestials. The strike team weaved through swarms of enemy drones, dodging laser fire and evading detection. Communication channels crackled with tension as pilots guided one another through narrow gaps between Zorathian cruisers. One by one, they fell victim to enemy fire, their ships exploding in silent bursts of light. But for every pilot lost, another pressed onward, determined to reach the flagship. Back on Earth, people watched anxiously as live feeds broadcasted the progress of the mission. News anchors narrated every twist and turn, their voices trembling with emotion. Families gathered around televisions praying for success. Social media lit up with messages of support, hashtags like Hope for Heroes trending worldwide. Even amid the destruction, humanity held on to the belief that victory was possible. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Marcus and two other pilots broke through the last line of defense. They unleashed a barrage of plasma torpedoes directly at the flagship's reactor, striking true. A blinding flash illuminated the sky as the reactor overloaded, engulfing the Zorathian command ship in a cataclysmic explosion. Cheers erupted across Earth as the flagship disintegrated, sending shockwaves rippling through the Zorathian fleet. Without their leader, the remaining Zorathian ships faltered. Some attempted to regroup while others fled into hyperspace, abandoning the fight altogether. For the first time since the invasion began, hope surged stronger than fear. Humanity celebrated openly, flooding streets with laughter and tears of relief. Fireworks lit up the night sky and cities spared from destruction, symbolizing defiance and triumph. Yet unbeknownst to the jubilant crowds, danger still lurked within the celestial ranks. General Vera, furious at the loss of the Zorathian flagship, seized the moment to execute her coup. Under the guise of reinforcing weakened defenses, she redirected several ships to surround Kalian's flagship. When the admiral realized what was happening, it was almost too late. "Vera!" Kalian shouted over the comms, his voice filled with disbelief. "What have you done?" "The time for debate is over," Vera replied coldly. "Earth has proven itself unworthy of salvation. It's time we secured our future, without them." As Vera's forces closed in, Kalian rallied, his loyal crew, preparing for a fight unlike any they'd faced before. The stage was set for a new chapter in the war, one that would test the bonds of loyalty, courage, and unity forged in the heat of battle. This part builds on the escalating conflict, highlights acts of heroism, introduces betrayal, and sets the stage for the next dramatic twist, all while maintaining suspense and emotional engagement. The betrayal struck like a bolt of lightning in the middle of a storm. Just as humanity began to celebrate its hard-fought victory against the Zorathians, General Vera's coup plunged the celestial fleet and Earth into chaos. Her forces moved swiftly, surrounding Admiral Kalian's flagship and cutting off communication with loyalist ships. The once unified protectors of Earth were now divided, their ranks fractured by distrust and ambition. Kalian stood on the bridge of his command ship, staring at the holographic display showing Vera's treacherous maneuvers. His usually calm demeanor cracked under the weight of betrayal. "How could she do this?" he muttered to himself, gripping the railing tightly. Around him, his crew scrambled to respond, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Vera had planned her attack meticulously, ensuring that Kalian's most trusted officers were either detained or forced to retreat. Vera addressed her followers through encrypted channels, justifying her actions with cold logic. "The Admiral has grown weak," she declared, her voice sharp and unyielding. "He clings to sentimentality, believing these primitive humans are worth saving. But we cannot afford such naivety. Earth is a liability, a drain on our resources, and a threat to our empire. If we must sacrifice them to secure our dominance, so be it." Her words sent shockwaves through the celestial fleet. Some supported her reasoning, convinced that Kalian's compassion had blinded him to reality. Others hesitated, torn between loyalty to their leader and fear of opposing Vera's growing power. Meanwhile, aboard Kalian's flagship, morale plummeted. For the first time since the war began, doubt crept into the minds of even the most steadfast defenders, but Kalian refused to give up. He gathered his remaining crew for an emergency meeting, determined to rally them one last time. Standing tall despite the odds stacked against him, he spoke with unwavering conviction. "We chose to protect humanity not because they are perfect, but because they have potential," he said, his voice resonating through the room. "They've shown courage, ingenuity, and unity in the face of annihilation. These are qualities worth fighting for, not just for Earth, but for ourselves. If we abandon them now, we lose sight of who we are." His words reignited a spark of hope among his crew. They may have been outnumbered, but they weren't defeated yet. Working together, they devised a desperate plan to counter Vera's assault. Using damaged ships as decoys, they lured her forces into a trap while secretly deploying cloaked fighters to disable key systems aboard her vessels. It was risky, but it was their only chance. Meanwhile, on Earth, news of the internal conflict spread quickly. People watched helplessly as the skies above them lit up with fresh explosions, not from the Zorathians this time, but from the very beings who had sworn to protect them. Confusion turned to anger as rumors circulated about the Celestials turning on each other. Protesters took to the streets demanding answers. "Why are they fighting? Aren't they supposed to save us?" shouted a young woman in London, holding up a handmade sign that read, "Celestials, protect us, don't betray us." Governments around the world issued statements urging calm, but trust in the Celestials wavered. Some argued that humanity should sever ties with their so-called protectors and fend for itself. Others insisted that abandoning the alliance would leave Earth defenseless against any future threats. Amidst the turmoil, ordinary citizens continued to band together, proving that resilience wasn't limited to governments or armies. In New York City, Ethan joined a group of teenagers organizing relief efforts for displaced families. Together, they collected food, water, and medical supplies, distributing them to shelters across the city. Though still grieving the loss of his mother, Ethan found solace in helping others. "If no one else can fix this mess, maybe we can," he told his friends, his voice filled with determination. Their small acts of kindness reminded everyone that hope could survive even in the darkest times. Back in space, the battle intensified. Vera launched wave after wave of attacks, determined to crush Kalian's resistance. Her superior numbers gave her the upper hand, but Kalian's strategic brilliance kept him one step ahead. He exploited weaknesses in her formations, targeting critical points that disrupted her fleet's coordination. Slowly but surely, he began to turn the tide. One pivotal moment came when Maya Tanaka, the young scientist from Tokyo, played a crucial role in tipping the scales. After returning to Earth following her work aboard the damaged cruiser, she had been monitoring Vera's movements using the upgraded satellite network she helped create. When she detected unusual energy signatures emanating from one of Vera's command ships, she realized it was the hub controlling all communications within her faction. Without hesitation, Maya contacted Kalian's team and relayed the information. Armed with this intel, Marcus Reed, the former fighter pilot who had led the strike against the Zorathian flagship, volunteered for another high-risk mission. Alongside a small squadron of human pilots embedded with the Celestials, he infiltrated Vera's territory, dodging enemy fire and evading detection. Their objective was clear: sabotage the command ship's communication array and isolate Vera from her forces. The mission was fraught with danger. Enemy patrols swarmed the area, forcing Marcus and his team to rely on quick reflexes and split-second decisions. At one point, a stray blast clipped Marcus's fighter, sending it spiraling toward a nearby asteroid field. Gripping the controls tightly, he managed to stabilize the craft just in time, narrowly avoiding collision. "Not today," he muttered, under his breath pushing forward despite the damage. Finally, they reached the command ship. Using stealth technology provided by the Celestials, they deployed EMP devices designed to disable the ship's systems without causing catastrophic damage. One by one, the devices detonated, plunging the vessel into darkness. Communication channels went silent, leaving Vera stranded and unable to issue orders to her fleet. With her control shattered, Vera's forces descended into disarray. Ships collided as confused crews struggled to regroup, while others abandoned the fight altogether. Seizing the opportunity, Kalian launched a counteroffensive, rallying his loyalists to reclaim lost ground. The tide of the battle shifted dramatically, turning what seemed like certain defeat into a glimmer of victory. Vera, realizing her position was untenable, made one final desperate move. She ordered her flagship to target Earth directly, intending to force Kalian's hand. "If I can't win, neither will you," she snarled, activating the ship's primary weapon, a massive plasma cannon capable of obliterating entire continents. On Earth, alarms blared as sensors detected the incoming threat. Panic swept through cities as people braced for impact. But Kalian acted swiftly, diverting every available resource to intercept the attack. He personally led a squadron of fighters, flying straight toward Vera's flagship. The two fleets clashed in a fiery maelstrom, exchanging blows with devastating intensity. In the end, it was Marcus who delivered the decisive blow. Dodging relentless fire from Vera's defenses, he maneuvered his fighter into position and fired a concentrated plasma torpedo directly at the flagship's core reactor. The shot hit true, destabilizing the reactor and triggering a massive explosion. Vera's ship disintegrated in a blinding flash, taking her with it. As the dust settled, silence fell over the battlefield. Exhausted but victorious, Kalian's forces regrouped, tending to their wounded and assessing the damage. On Earth, people emerged from shelters cautiously, unsure whether the nightmare was truly over. When confirmation came that Vera had been defeated, celebrations erupted worldwide. Fireworks lit up the night sky once again, this time symbolizing unity and perseverance. Yet, amidst the joy, questions lingered. What would happen now that the Celestials' internal conflict had been resolved? Would they stay to help rebuild Earth, or would they leave content that their job was done? And perhaps most importantly, how would humanity move forward after such a harrowing ordeal? Admiral Kalian addressed these concerns in a final broadcast to humanity. "Your strength lies not in your weapons or wealth, but in your ability to come together in times of crisis," he said, his voice filled with pride. "You have proven yourselves worthy of protection, not because you are perfect, but because you strive to improve. We will remain by your side as long as you need us, but remember, the future belongs to you." Though challenges remained, humanity entered a new era, one defined by cooperation, innovation, and resilience. Together they began rebuilding their shattered world, guided by the lessons learned during the war. And though the scars of battle would never fully fade, they served as reminders of how far they had come, and how much farther they could go. This part explores themes of betrayal, redemption, and unity, keeping readers engaged with action-packed sequences and emotional moments. It also sets the stage for the final chapter, where humanity takes its place among the stars. The aftermath of the war left Earth forever changed. The skies, once filled with explosions and streaks of plasma fire, now shimmered peacefully under the light of a setting sun. Cities lay in ruins, their skylines jagged and broken, but amidst the rubble, signs of life began to emerge. People worked tirelessly to rebuild what had been lost, not just structures, but trust, hope, and unity. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. Admiral Kalian kept his promise. The Celestials remained on Earth, not as rulers or overseers, but as partners committed to helping humanity recover. Their advanced technology accelerated reconstruction efforts, transforming devastated landscapes into gleaming metropolises powered by clean energy. Solar panels and wind turbines replaced fossil fuels, while water purification systems ensured access to fresh drinking water for everyone. Fields once scorched by alien weapons were revitalized using terraforming techniques, allowing farmers to grow crops again. Slowly but surely, Earth healed. Yet the scars of the conflict lingered. Monuments were erected in memory of those who had sacrificed everything. The brave pilots who flew suicide missions, the civilians caught in the crossfire, and even the celestial crew members who gave their lives to protect humanity. In New York City, Ethan stood beside one such monument, his eyes tracing the names engraved on its polished surface. Among them was his mother's name. For a long time he had felt anger and grief, but now, standing here surrounded by others, paying their respects, he felt something else: pride. His mother had died protecting him, and her sacrifice reminded him that love could exist even in the face of destruction. Across the globe, stories of heroism became legends passed down through generations. Maya Tanaka's contributions earned her international recognition, yet she remained humble, focusing instead on mentoring young scientists eager to learn from her experiences. "We didn't win this war alone," she often said during interviews. "It took all of us, scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers, children, to fight back. That's what made the difference." Marcus Reed, too, found purpose beyond the battlefield. After retiring from active duty, he dedicated himself to fostering peace between humans and the Celestials. He traveled the world, sharing his story, and encouraging cooperation over division. "They saved us when we couldn't save ourselves," Marcus told crowds gathered at rallies. "But saving isn't enough. We need to build something better, together." As humanity rebuilt, it also embraced newfound opportunities. With the Celestials' guidance, Earth entered an unprecedented era of technological advancement. Medical breakthroughs cured diseases once thought incurable. Space exploration expanded rapidly, with joint missions launching astronauts alongside celestial explorers to study distant planets and moons. Schools introduced programs teaching students about interstellar diplomacy and cultural exchange, preparing future generations to interact with extraterrestrial civilizations. But perhaps the most profound change occurred within humanity itself. The war had forced people to confront their differences, political, racial, religious, and recognize that survival depended on working together. Nations set aside old rivalries, pooling resources and knowledge to create a global community united by shared goals. Borders blurred as communities collaborated across continents, proving that compassion transcended geography. Even corporations shifted priorities, investing in sustainable practices rather than profit-driven exploitation. In Tokyo, Maya watched as skyscrapers rose from the ashes of destroyed neighborhoods. She marveled at how quickly people adapted, finding ways to innovate despite the challenges. "This is what resilience looks like," she whispered to herself, smiling faintly. Nearby, children played in newly constructed parks, laughing and chasing each other without a care in the world. It was a stark contrast to the fear and uncertainty that had gripped the planet just months earlier. Meanwhile, Admiral Kalian prepared to depart. Though grateful for the Celestials' assistance, many wondered if their presence would eventually become oppressive. Would they demand loyalty? Would they impose rules on how humans should live? These concerns weighed heavily on Kalian's mind as he addressed his crew during a final meeting aboard the flagship. "Our mission was never to control humanity, but to empower them," he reminded his officers. "Earth has shown us what true strength looks like, not domination, but collaboration. Now it's time for us to step back and let them chart their own course." To ensure transparency, the Celestials established the Celestial Accord, treaty solidifying humanity's partnership with their protectors. Leaders from both sides agreed to share knowledge, foster mutual growth, and prepare for future threats. The accord also included provisions ensuring Earth's autonomy, guaranteeing that humanity would retain control over its destiny. While some skeptics questioned whether the agreement would hold, most celebrated it as a symbol of hope and progress. On the day of the signing ceremony, representatives from every nation gathered aboard the celestial flagship orbiting Earth. The event was broadcast live worldwide, drawing billions of viewers eager to witness history unfold. As Kalian and Earth's leaders exchanged signatures, applause erupted from the audience, echoing across space. Tears streamed down faces as people realized they were witnessing the dawn of a new era, an era defined not by fear but by possibility. Before departing, Kalian delivered one final message to humanity. "Your journey does not end here," he said. his voice resonating with warmth and conviction. You have proven yourselves capable of greatness beyond measure. Remember this moment, not because you survived, but because you chose to thrive. The stars await you, and we will be watching proudly as you claim your place among them. With those words, the celestial fleet departed, disappearing into the vast expanse of space. For the first time in decades, Earth's skies were empty of alien ships. Yet humanity knew they weren't truly alone. The bond forged during the war had transformed strangers into allies, and allies into family. Years later, the story of the Zorathian invasion and the celestial intervention became legend. Textbooks chronicled the events in vivid detail, while filmmakers brought the tale to life on screen. Museums displayed artifacts recovered from the battlefields, charred fragments of Zorathian drones, pieces of celestial armor, and handwritten journals documenting personal accounts of courage and loss. Each relic served as a reminder of how far humanity had come, and how much farther it could go. Ethan grew up to become a historian, dedicating his career to preserving the memory of those who fought and died during the war. He traveled the world, collecting stories from survivors and ensuring that no act of bravery went unrecognized. One evening, while giving a lecture to a group of students, he paused mid-sentence, looking out at the eager faces before him. History isn't just about remembering the past, he said softly. It's about learning from it so we can shape the future. Never forget that. As he spoke, a star streaked across the night sky, a fleeting reminder of the universe's infinite possibilities. Somewhere out there, the Celestials continued their mission, watching over countless worlds. And somewhere closer to home, humanity gazed upward, ready to take its next step toward the stars. The war had taught them that survival wasn't enough. To truly live meant embracing challenges, forging connections, and daring to dream bigger than ever before. Together they had faced annihilation and emerged victorious. Now armed with knowledge, courage, and unity, humanity stood poised to write its greatest chapter yet, one written among the stars. This concluding part ties together themes of resilience, unity, and hope, offering a satisfying resolution while leaving room for future exploration. It emphasizes humanity's growth and potential, ensuring readers walk away inspired and reflective.